some opportunities where we're really looking at where we have some great funding opportunities to do some of these climate-ready fisheries things and improve recreational data. So that's what we're going to talk about here shortly.
That's such a good
If any of you guys have spent time on the water, which I know this group has, you've likely seen things are changing, right? You can peg that to a lot of different things, but the climate is changing. We're seeing species moving pretty significantly. We're seeing productivity shifts, meaning like how fish reproduce. Like, are they keeping that long-term average, or is their productivity, i.e., again, recruitment, is that becoming more variable or less productive? We're also seeing fish size, length and weight, that is changing. We're seeing habitat changes. I mean, like some of these guys from Florida and Louisiana are having incredible changes and negative to their habitat. And here in the ocean, we're seeing acidification, and again, water temperatures are changing, and all of this impacts fish, right? So one of the key questions is management keeping up? Is the science keeping up? So, again, black sea bass. You guys, anyone that fishes around here has likely noticed how many more sea bass we have now. You can tell it from this graphic, and this is kind of the centered distribution of black sea bass. So they've shifted over 150 miles in the last 50 years. And this stock is doing really well right now, according to all the data that we have. But management is struggling kind of because of this, the climate impacts and how much the stock has shifted. Again, there's many other species that we're really understanding that their distribution is moving. Their responses to these new or changing environments are also, you're seeing responses. And again, I go back to this earlier question. Is management changing? Is it adapting? Is the science keeping up with this rate of change to where we can improve management? And those are kind of the operable questions with all of this, right? Because without good science, without good management, we don't have well-managed fisheries, and that is a problem for all of us, for the long-term sustainability and long-term abundance of some of our favorite fisheries. So again, like I just said, management is struggling to keep up with this rate of change. There's studies that found that very few fishery management plans are even considering any of these climate change impacts, and that again, that could be vulnerability, that could be winners or losers of climate change. It's things are changing, and again, we're not necessarily keeping up. That's not to say the future is totally grim. There are several key kind of national policy initiatives that may give us some solutions, or at least we can get some better information to inform these fisheries. One, Inflation Reduction Act. NOAA Fisheries recently came out with a ecosystem-based fishery management roadmap. And then we have the National Saltwater Recreational Fisheries Policy, and that's on the implementation side. So really quickly here, the IRA gave NOAA Fisheries a ton of money. NOAA Fisheries has kind of consistently been at stable funding, which might sound all right, but again, looking at all these changes, we need to really reinvigorate and explore new approaches to gathering this data and turning it into management. So one of these ways is $20 million is going to regional fishery management councils, which there are 8 of them spread all throughout the United States coastlines. And each council proposed specific projects that will seek to kind of get to some of these climate-ready fisheries initiatives and do some specific research, answer some specific research questions. And another one real quick is $40 million for the Climate Ecosystems and Fisheries Initiative. That is more or less re-envisioning how we are gathering some of this new climate data and deploying it into management. So we, again, better science, better management, better fisheries. So I'll quickly highlight a couple of these IRA projects. We don't know exactly what's funded yet, but some interesting ones. We recently found out that there are now 4 new management units for cod, and that's going from 2 to 4. That's a climate species, right? And then on the Mid-Atlantic Council side, which this is something that we'll hear more about in probably 20 minutes or so, they are looking at forecasting models, taking different environmental factors to kind of model river herring bycatch in a midwater trawl fishery, which, river herring and sea herring and mackerel oftentimes commingle. And when you're talking about a high volume fishery, that's intercepting river herring, which are chronically depressed throughout much of New England and the Mid-Atlantic. That presents a huge problem. So again, innovative tools to create more or to adapt management to some of these dynamic new environmental impacts we are seeing. And the saltwater recreational fisheries policy implementation plans. Many of you in this room were likely approached by Tony or myself to join a webinar, and we might have spoon-fed you some talking points, but all of that effort came to fruition, and we have some implementation plans now. It's a bit of pulling hair with NOAA to make sure that those plans and those projects that they identified, like we bear some fruit from that, but that is still in the work. And just to quickly, do I have some of these projects written down? We talked about recreational data with Lou just now. That is a huge piece of the saltwater, the Mid-Atlantic, New England's recreational policy implementation plan, and kind of re-envisioning how we collect and how we use recreational data. That GARFO, being the Greater Atlantic Regional Office, is directly considering new technologies and new ways to leverage how many of us fish to collect just basic fisheries information and information related to some of these changes we are seeing. So yep, there's that again. And real quickly, ecosystem-based fisheries management, it kind of is what it sounds like. It's managing fisheries throughout an entire ecosystem, and you're taking in so many different factors. So, whereas specific fisheries are often managed by one stock assessment, and that they deduce catch levels from that, EBFM can kind of take more inputs into that decision-making matrix. Like for forage fish, you can calculate how many fish should be left for the ecosystem services that forage fish provide. So it's a more holistic and, more or less, in some ways, precautionary way to manage fisheries when you're considering all these other factors. And again, kind of folding in the vulnerabilities and uncertainties associated with changing marine ecosystems, which we are seeing. But again, bottom line, even with all these dollars and opportunities we have right now, marine ecosystems are changing. We need to adapt fisheries. Better science, more science is better science, and better science is better managed fisheries. And for most of us here, that means more sustainable fisheries and abundant fisheries long into the future. And that's what all of us here are hoping for in the long term. So those are some quick national updates. And Tony, are we going to go right in? Yeah.
So I guess one of the bottom lines that Will and I work on every day, there's really no nice way to put it, but it's holding NOAA's feet to the fire, right? Like, we were speakers at the Recreational Fishing Summit. The Guides Association provided a tremendous amount of input. We had 20 plus members in that room that were in the breakout sessions. Every layer that we could participate, in the new fisheries policy and the priorities, we participated in a positive way, and they came out with the implementation plan, and we were happy with some things, surprised with others. But now's when the real work begins. Holding them accountable to doing all the things that they say that they're going to do. So this is kind of like pushing a boulder uphill, because you're working with an agency that's under the Department of Commerce and has miles of red tape that we don't have. But what I guess what I just want to express to everyone before Bailey comes on is we're the right group to hold their feet to the fire. So we will do that in our own special way, and hold them accountable and push them forward to do the things that they say they're going to do. Bailey, so this next fun little thing is redfish in Louisiana, and I can tell you, as a fisheries conservation organization, as a policy group, you have not lived until you've worked on conservation in Louisiana. So.